Hey guys, welcome back to the second episode of the 34 build. I'm going to try to update this weekly. This is a full-time restoration shop, so sometimes that gets hard to do. But what we're going to do today is we're going to pull out the engine and transmission. We're going to drop the oil pan. We're going to see if this engine's usable. I like to save taking the heads off for last because you never know. It might be a good running engine, and taking the heads off, you can run into a lot more complications that way. So I want to see what it looks like from the inside, from underneath. There's some sludge in the intake, so we got to make sure there's no sludge in the oil pan. Since we're taking that out, transmission is going to come out with it. We're going to be able to take off the shift tower, get a good look down on the transmission to see exactly what gears we have and if they're usable. So I'm going to jack this up so I get my fat ass underneath it and take the torque tube bolts out. That's all it takes to get this torque tube to disconnect from the transmission. Now this is all transmission mount. This is all one piece here. So that's the torque tube. It'll separate. Since this lip here is raised, that means it's a 1941 block. A lot of people call it like a raised intake service, but really they milled the shoulders down lower. But it lets us know it's a 1941 block. So I can see here on the transmission, it's a non-synchronized. We don't have synchronized on second and third. And on our first reverse slider here, I can see that there's actually teeth broken off on that, so that's not good. First is a little bit rounded, but that's super normal in these type of transmissions. But I'd be more worried about those teeth that are broken off right there on the slider. So I'd say the output shaft needs to be replaced. if you're the type of person who doesn't mind having non-synchronized transmission, this one would be just fine. So it's just up to the person on whether they like that or not. So we'll get the transmission off, then we'll flip this motor upside down and get the oil pan off of it. So the whole point of this is we're looking for sludge, and there's a little bit, but not a crazy amount here. I feel a little bit at the bottom, so I'm not too worried about that. So now let's look at the motor now. So here's the inside of the motor. You can see the pistons, you can see some of the cylinder walls. Look over here at this cylinder wall. Some scoring. It's hard to get it on a camera. There's some scoring on the walls. So there's a chance that this is a runnable motor, but it's looking like it's a really high mileage flathead. So it might have like really low compression. So what it looks like is it's a high mileage motor. Looking down at the cam, there's not any scores on the cam, but it does look worn. But there is some scoring on the cylinder walls. It's hard to pick them up in the camera, but there's some scoring there. Some sludge in the oil pump. That's why we take this off and look down in here. So it's a high mileage motor. So I can't say still, you know, how much power it's gonna have. It could be an old tired motor, but I mean, it looks like it is a runnable, so we'll see. So I called and talked to Dennis. He's the owner of this 34. He told me to hold tight on the motor. He thinks he might have one that is in way better condition, maybe possibly rebuilt. That'll put us in a lot better situation for him when it comes to racing the 34 and actually getting some good miles on it. That looks like it's a really high mile flathead. It's got low compression. The bearings from underneath look a little worn out. Sludge, not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but yes, there was still a little bit of sludge in the pan. Whatever little bit of water was in it, I think that was from when he drove over. I don't think there's any blown head gaskets, but the compression was really, really low on it. So I think it's a good idea to try to resource another motor. I pretty much told him we could run this one, but it's not going to be, I wouldn't consider it reliable. You wouldn't be competitive when it comes to racing. And he's very interested in both of those things. So we're going to make sure we get it there exactly where he wants it. So hopefully the other motor we got is in better standings than this one. This transmission definitely needs a rebuild and most definitely needs an output shaft. It's non-synchronized. We're not really sure if we want to look for a synchronized transmission or not, but it does need a new output shaft. The teeth on the output shaft are broken off where first actually, where the rear gear actually engages first. So we don't want to break the rest of the teeth off and not have first in a race. That would be terrible. So that's where we stand with the 34. Still loving this car, still loving this project. We have 39 juice brake pedals to put on this frame. We got 39 brakes to put on the front and back. So there's still a lot of good content coming up, guys. So make sure you follow along with this build. Thank you for watching. Get in the garage and get your shift together.